Hello and welcome to this video. So this video is called What I Love About Modular Synthesis, and it's really kind of a follow-on from the last video where I discussed how I got into modular synthesis in the first place. There's lots of reasons to love modular synthesis, but I thought I'd just pick out a few that are really important to me, and probably the reason that sort of keeps me going, keeps me tinkering and playing with this box of cables and lights and sounds and so on. So if you want to share in the comments below what you love about modular synthesis, or why you keep coming back to it, then that would be great. As ever, it's always great to hear from other people and what their experiences are. Without further ado, here are the reasons why I love modular synthesis. Let me consult my list that I have. Reason number one. I would say reason number one is the fact that modular synthesis is a very tactile form of making music. In the past, I've spent significant portions of my time working at a computer, and it's kind of I don't hate working at a computer, but it's definitely a necessary evil, and I've never really got on that well with making music in a computer, programming in parts or drawing parts in on a piano roll or playing parts in. Maybe recording live instruments is a little bit different, because there you're not really making music in the computer. You're making music outside of the computer, and you're just using the computer to capture the audio. But if you're actually just making music within the computer without any external instruments and so on, that's something that I've never really got on that well with. I just sort of can't seem to get into that state where I sort of flow with it, and I'm really that happy with the results that I produce. So when I first got into modular synthesis, it was something that it felt very different. It's not like working with a computer, although sometimes maybe the results may sound similar, and it's possible to get similar sounds and so on as when you're working with a computer, but it's definitely something which is very different, a very different beast. So that's probably reason number one. It's that tactile nature, getting in contact with the knobs and the sliders and the cables and everything else, and not having to work in a computer. Reason number two is the I guess it's the sort of surprise element, for want of a better word. Yeah, the surprise element of the modular synth. So you never quite know what's going to happen when you sit down with this box. So I might plan out to do something. I might have some very set or fixed intentions, and this might be something actually that I talk about in a future video. I may have fixed intentions of what I'm going to do with a particular patch or composition or whatever, and rarely does the end result match up to what my initial intentions were. Usually I'll start doing something following a plan, and then partway through realise that it just isn't working, pull all the cables out and just start from scratch, with no fixed intentions in mind. Or if that's not the case, it may be just that I start out with an intention, but then as I start exploring sounds and exploring possibilities, that intention kind of gets a little bit lost, and I end up with something completely different from that original plan. And that is one of the great things about modular. It can surprise you all the time, and a lot of the time some of the best things that you get out of it, the best sounds or the best ideas, are the unplanned things, the accidents, the happy accidents, the serendipity, the mistakes, maybe even sometimes. So yeah, that that is something which is definitely one of my things that I love the most about Modular. It's that sort of mysterious, surprise, serendipitous nature of the beast. Item number 4 on this list. No, it's not 4, is it? Is it 3? Well, I don't know whether it's 3 or 4. I've lost count. I think it's 3. Item number 3 is sort of the endless possibilities, or the endless possibilities that there are for sound creation. A lot of the time we can be sort of guilty of just sort of using the same sounds over and over again, or the same presets and so on. But with a modular, there really is a lot of endless possibilities there, and quite often the sounds that you will use will be very different from one session to the next. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. Sometimes just you've worked for so long on a patch that and so many intricate little parts have contributed toward it, that even just sort of turning the synth off and turning it back on again another day, it's not going to behave quite the same as it did on that particular occasion. So you end up with something ever so slightly different. But you're never going to be able to turn it on and just load up, I don't know, patch number 1 or patch number 15 or whatever. You're always going to start with something that's new and different. And that's interesting, because it kind of it always keeps, it's back to that first point, it always keeps surprising you, really. So that's my third thing that I love about Modular. It is the endless possibilities that there are for sound. Okay, just wait for some of this traffic noise to go past. So reason number 4 is that for me the modular synth is less of an instrument and more a collaborator. And I really feel that in discovering modular synth music and the way of working with the modular synth, it's almost like I've found sort of my perfect musical partner. Let me just kind of explain that a little bit. In the past, as I mentioned in the previous video, I played a lot in bands and played guitar and so on. And I would often work in a way where I would contribute the majority of the music to songs, and then we'd get together and jam out. I'd do little recordings and send them to the rest of the band, and then we'd sort of get together at rehearsal and jam out some of the ideas and so on, and end up with a finished song that may sound sort of very different from some of the original ideas that I would have put forward in the early demos. And that's great because, the what's the phrase? The final product is greater than the sum of the individual parts. I don't think that's the correct phrase, but you get what I'm getting at. So it's always great to collaborate with people, and you will usually come up with something together that's far surpasses what any individual person may come up with. But sometimes that would leave me feeling not necessarily disheartened, but I sort of would feel occasionally I can only describe it as disappointment in myself, that I couldn't be that type of person that could just, the sort of sole creative genius that comes up with everything and creates masterpieces and so on all by themselves. And maybe that's a myth. Maybe that person doesn't really exist anyway. But I think knowing that the music that I create would always need other people to make it work, and need input from other people, probably made me sometimes question my own abilities or skills and so on. So fast forward a little bit, and I find myself now working with a modular, and really it feels like I'm reached that stage where I am able to create music on my own without input from other people that I am proud of and that I'm pleased with, and that I'm happy to produce, and so on. And I think that's in part because I'm actually still collaborating, but I'm now collaborating with the machine rather than with other people. But it's a machine that you can't argue with it. You can't have an argument about whether you should go to the chorus at this point or do another 2 bars or whatever structure of the song should be. There's no heated words with a modular, but there's definitely a collaboration with it. There's definitely a way of working where, as I mentioned earlier, that it surprises you, and that you set out with an intention, but you don't always fulfill that intention, and maybe what you end up with is something that's even better than what you plan to do. And so it does feel that I found, with the modular synth, I've found my kind of perfect musical partner that allows me to collaborate in a way that is fulfilling, and produces the sort of results that I'm happy with. Item number 5 on this list. So the modular synth, I think, really allows you to let go of any. I'm not really sure how to say this. Again, thinking back to music that I would create in the past, working with bands and so on, there would always be some sort of intention with that music that it should sound a certain way. It should conform to certain rules in order to, I don't know, gain in popularity or gain fans, or maybe be attractive to other agencies, or get gigs, or whatever. You sort of have to fit into a little box that is the type of music that your band creates. And I feel that with modular synth there is way more freedom to create whatever you want, really, with no boundaries, or without having to tie yourself into any particular genre, or into a niche, or to fit into anything. And maybe even modular synth is its own genre within its own right. So the musical genre is less important. I could spend time creating an ambient piece one day, and then create some kind of noise soundscape thing another day, and I'd be more than happy with that, and I think people who would listen to my music would also be happy to listen to it. There doesn't really seem to be a need to fit into a tightly constrained category or genre when it comes to modular synth, and you really can just create whatever music you feel like in that moment, or even whatever music just happens to come out in that moment, without having to worry, does this fit into the type of music that I create? Is this the type of the genre? Is it correct for the genre of the music that I create? Really is just sort of total freedom with the modular synth. Okay, so the final point, number 6, why I love modular synth. And this one, maybe it's a little bit corny, and it probably applies to other. It definitely applies to other instruments and other ways of making music, and that is the continuous journey that you can go on with a modular synth. There is so many endless possibilities, and so many ways that you can create music, and so many things that you can do with modular, and so many ways that you can expand the modular. I've just got this one case here. I've got a Behringer thing over there, but if I had a lot of money, I could keep expanding this case forever. I've got another case up there, but there's nothing in it. That's my old case, which one day I would like to get some more modules in that one, and then I've got a second case. But you know, that in itself is kind of the gear side of things, the gear acquisition syndrome, gas, which isn't always a good thing, of course, you know, but it's just say that it is there. The possibilities are there. You can expand the modular so much. You can learn so much. Is there ever a point where anybody can say that they fully have learned everything there is to know about modular synth? I don't think so. I think you could always just keep learning. You can always be discovering new things. There will always be new types of modules, new ways of integrating music into the system, you know, whether that's through other instruments or computers or more modules, whatever. So it is that sort of continual journey, and you know, that's the same with the guitar as well. Somebody who is learning an instrument like a guitar or a piano or whatever, you'll never stop learning. You'll always, it sounds a bit corny and a bit cliched, but you'll always be learning that instrument, always discovering new things. So that's my final point there on why I love modular synth. So 6 reasons. Was that 6 reasons? I think it was. 6 reasons why I love modular synth. Maybe that's the title of the video. It's a list. It's turned into a list. Okay, so let me know what are the reasons that you love modular synth. What are the reasons that you hate modular synth? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time in the next video. Thank you. Goodbye.